want to ask you, Luke and Jermaine, since so many people came to Atlanta from other states to embrace Freaknik, how do you think when they went back home that impacted the growth of hip hop and the South and
Mm.
Florida's impact on hip hop because they came there, took that in, and then went back to their respective homes?
Well, I don't know that it impacted hip hop. It impacted Atlanta, which then, like I said, if you was listening to the sound, as us creating this soundtrack, we also was creating the soundtrack of living in Atlanta. You know what I mean? Like, when I made Welcome to Atlanta, that was my mindset. It was just like, Will Smith had a song about Miami, and uh, Frank Sinatra got a song about New York. Ray Charles made Georgia. We was crafting basically the soundtrack of lifestyle, basically, and I feel like that's ultimately what happened. It just was like more. People just started realizing, like, let's make a soundtrack for the things that's happening. So then T.I. made trap music, which was about, boys in the streets of Atlanta and how they sold dope and the way the dope houses in Atlanta was set up. They called them traps and this, that, and third. So then they made music to go along with it. I just think that became the synergy is like create the soundtrack for the city. And I feel like they got all of that, that information without somebody actually telling them. It was poured into them from Freaknik because, like, earlier I was saying, when at my office at So Def, when Lil Jon presented to me that he wanted to do this So Def based compilation, his whole release date and idea about the music was all surrounded around Freaknik coming to Atlanta and him saying we want to do marketing and create a rap band that say Freaknik, So Def, or beach balls and towels for people that's in the street. We had water that had wraps around it with the Afro Man on it, and it was just a big, like Frank was saying, like it's really it was the rise of So Def as far as what was happening in the streets of Atlanta. If you came to Atlanta and you saw this, and you was from somewhere else, you saw this Afro Man, right? And then I put the billboard up, so you saw the billboard, and then you saw the reflection of the billboard in the streets while you was out there. And we was just, like I said, ultimately we just was creating the soundtrack for a lifestyle. And I think that every artist that came after this, Goody Mob or whoever it was, they all tried to incorporate something like this in their music. So that part of it is what I feel like helped the hip hop. It created a mindset for us Southerners to follow as far as our blueprint in hip hop.
Yeah, you asked a real good question. Coming from an outsider, me as an outsider, going frequenting Atlanta so many times and being the person to bring the freak and the Nick and the picnic, when you left, yes, when you left, and that's how, I mean, there was such thing called an underground for me and my record label and what we were doing as far as bass. We weren't on mainstream radio, nowhere in the country. So through HBCUs was how our music was traveling. And so through Freaknik, when people came from California, when they came from the Carolinas, when they came from Texas, and they came to Atlanta to enjoy Freaknik, they got an overdose of Atlanta music, Miami music, bass music, this different type of partying type of music. And they did take it back to their hometowns. And that is how the music traveled and became so popular around the country. I was just talking to a young lady last night that I met at the Century Club in LA, and she told me the story about her how I ended up meeting her, and she basically said, "Hey, look, my friend wanted to know how can she get the Freaknik," and that's how the conversation actually started. And now, mind you, we're talking about 1997. You know, and that is how it traveled. You know, it wasn't no social media. Freaknik traveled through the music, and that is why you saw at the end, you know, people coming there just losing their mind. They came there with the wrong intention to a great event, and that's how it kind of blew up.